One of the great beauties of both surrender and self-inquiry, one of the reasons why they are complete techniques, is because they both are techniques of what I would call progressive objectification. What does that mean? It means simply this. In self-inquiry, you are chasing the sense of the I. And as you do so, you are recognizing that there are thoughts, perceptions, and other things that are distractions, and you're recognizing that they are objects of your experience, that they shine in the light of the I, and every time you encounter them, you refocus on the I, and that's called chasing the I. And as you do this, maybe you start to have conceptions of what the I is, right? And then you recognize, oh no, those aren't it either, right? The I might feel like vastness, it might feel like nothing, it might feel like emptiness, it might feel like blankness, right? Impasses may happen, dead ends may happen. There are so many kinds of thoughts. And the process of doing inquiry, you recognize those things to be thoughts. You might think you've encountered the I, oh, the I feels like this. Then you recognize, no, that feeling is actually a thought. And then you objectify it, meaning you recognize it to be an object. And similarly with vague feelings you might have, weird senses, strange feelings of various kinds, right? Even the sense of peace or silence or quiet, all of those are also objects in experience. How do you know? Because you're aware of them. You're aware of them, they have a beginning and an ending, and those are basically the qualities of objects. In surrender, you're ignoring all thought and relaxing. And again, the same thing happens, right? What is a thought, right? One might ignore what you think are thoughts, and then you come to something else, like, oh, again, it's a sort of feeling. Or it could be, again, silence, or it could be any number of things, right? Each of those things is also a thought. And so you start to recognize that what you thought was not a thought is a thought. Yes, even this subtle feeling is also a thought. Even this sense of well-being is also a thought. Even that sense of nothingness is also a thought, right? You're sort of taken by it, and then you sort of learn to discern it as a thing of which you're aware, and then in surrender to just relax and not engage with it, right? To not be drawn in by it, which is possible when you've recognized it to be an object of awareness. So in both cases, in both self-inquiry and surrender, which are anyway two sides of a coin, two angles on basically ultimately what comes out to be the same process, there is a progressive recognition of subtler and subtler thoughts, subtler and subtler experiences. Things which you didn't think were thoughts are recognized to be thoughts. And it is this process that draws one towards the self, because the self is the subtlest of all, you might say. You could argue it's the subtlest thought. You could argue that it's beyond thought. I mean, anyway, it doesn't really matter what you call it. But the point is that what we are trying to do is recognize the thought stream. And the thought stream is extremely subtle. By this progressively subtler and subtler objectification and detachment, we ultimately come to the recognition that we're not in that thought stream. That what we thought was the I in the thought stream is actually just part of that thought stream. It's not actually trapped in the thought stream. And the moment that happens, then the other side of that coin is the indescribable, unsayable self, which is not caught up in the thought stream. and which is always there. You're experiencing it every second. So surrender and self-inquiry are special because unlike techniques where you focus on your breath or you focus on a mantra or you focus on a particular object, right? Those are static things. They can be very useful for quieting the mind in certain circumstances, but surrender and self-inquiry are dynamic processes where you aren't focusing on a particular static object. You're focusing on a process of discernment of subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler things. And that process of discernment and then ignoring or chasing the eye, either way, leads one ultimately to recognize that what you thought you were isn't what you actually are.